Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Brett's Brain. Today we're going to talk about liquidation preferences and why it's a key term anytime you're raising a round of venture capital as an entrepreneur, what it means, and why not enough founders know about it. Hey, I'm Brett Broll, an entrepreneur turned investor. Thanks so much for checking out the channel. If you like this content, make sure you share it, subscribe it, like it, send it out to all your entrepreneur friends. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I try to respond to all of them myself pretty quickly. So liquidation preferences. It's a term that just doesn't get enough publicity. Everybody thinks about valuation and all these other things. Well, liquidation preference is actually really important. It can have a huge impact on your returns as a founder or an investor. So what is it? Well, simply put, it's when you have a liquidity event or you get cash for selling your company, a liquidation preference helps determine who gets what cash when. So let's pretend that you're selling your company for $10 million and you've raised $1 million and you did it and you gave up 10% of your company for that $1 million. So, and you had 1x liquidation preferences. So you're selling your company for $10 million. You expect that you would get 9 million as the founder and your investors are going to get 1 million because they own 10% of your company. Well, if you have a 1x liquidation preference, that's actually not what happens. What happens is that the 1x means that your investors get their $1 million back first, and then you split the remaining pool 90-10. And so you would get 90% of that 9 million or 8.1 million, and your investors would get another 900,000. And this can have a dramatic effect on your returns as a founder. Let's use the same example. Let's pretend you had 3x liquidation preferences, and you can have any type of preference out there. The investors would get 3x their initial investment back first, and then you would split the remaining pool. So when you have acquisitions or exits that are a little bit smaller or closer to the amount of capital that you've raised, they can have a tremendous impact on your company and your returns as a founder. If you've raised $10 million and you have 2x liquidation preferences and you sell the company for 20 million bucks, as a founder, you might not get anything. The first 20 million goes back to your investors. And so it's really important to understand how that's going to impact your potential returns. Now, listen, if you take your company to $10 billion and you've raised $10 million, it doesn't matter if they have a 1x, 2x, 3x liquidation preference in that scenario, because the returns are so great and the cash coming back is so great that it has a small, really small percentage difference in the overall returns for every single person or stockholder in that company. But when you're having those little bit smaller exits, it can make a huge difference. And so it's really important for you to pay attention to it. At the earliest stages, pre-seed, seed, Series A, anything other than a 1x liquidation preference is really out of market. 1x is pretty normal, where investors get their money back first, and then you split the remaining pot. Once you get to growth equity rounds or later stage rounds, things can change and liquidation preferences can change. But at those early rounds, push back on anything that isn't at least 1x.